Um, I'm very honored and pleased personally to have Samina Qureshi here. We've known her for a long time and in many contexts. Samina is an artist and a photographer and an educator and is here in her guise as an author. Currently she is the Gardner Visiting Artist at the Peabody Museum and Harvard University. She has exhibited her artwork internationally and has authored quite a few books, some of which some of you may know, including the Lahore book, The City Within, and The Legends of the Indus, and A Discovery of Pakistan. Is that another book? Yes. Which I haven't seen. I do know the Lahore book. She's also received numerous awards, including the Kambar Imtiaz Medal for Distinguished Service in Cultural Preservation and the Arts in Pakistan, a long name. And we recently heard quite an interesting little tale attached to the Kambar, which was pinched while in transit somewhere or the other. And she had to go through, yes, somebody stole it, along with some earrings. And she had to go through quite a process to get another one. Anyway, we're very pleased to be able to have Samina here, and she will be introducing her new book, which is Sacred Spaces, A Journey with the Sufis of the Indus. Samina is also going to be talking about her own personal journey of pilgrimage and the relationship between art, spirituality and community in South Asia. And then we look forward to a discussion afterwards. So without any further ado,
Thank you.
Samina.
Thank you, Poppy. Assalamu alaikum.
I'm really delighted to have this wonderful setting to have a conversation with you. This book is a personal act of resistance against those forces that seek to make a unitary, monolithic view of a faith that is essentially very, very flexible and very embracing and very all-encompassing, I should say. So, it's very disturbing when it is interpreted in the most narrow of fashions and things are attributed to Islam that Islam in its own actual being would probably find very impossible to accommodate as a religious act. So I thought that I had read in history books that Islam did not come with Muhammad bin Qasim. It actually came centuries before through wanderers and mystics and teachers who came from Central Asia and Afghanistan and Iraq and Iran and brought their philosophy and incorporated it with local legends and local lore, and it became embedded in the DNA of our people. And as you know, there are a variety of languages, there are regions that have very disparate geographical characteristics. Each of these has shaped the people. The river Indus itself is a very important entity, and it is the cultures that have flourished on its banks that have given us the vestiges over, I should say, 60 centuries of time. So this is a very old land, and whether we are a modern nation or not a modern nation, it's impossible to characterize us, and we do have an identity crisis, and I do accept that, but I think that it is because we don't embrace plurality. It's a funny word, but it's the only word I know that talks about embracing all of the different languages and ethnicities and the different kinds of people that have that form Pakistan. The first mannat I ever made was at Shah Abdul Latif, and I asked that I be given the gift of education, and I have to say that it inspired me to be very serious about that. I also lament that Data South's shrine now look like rockets, and and sort of very strange modern architecture, which was supposedly an act of respect, but done without the gift of an inspired architect. Hazrat Sayyid Abul Hasan Makhdoom Ali Al-Hujwiri was born in Hujwir, Ghazni, in present-day Afghanistan. At the time, a hub of intellectual and educational activity around 991, that is after Hijri 380. बहुत पुराना सिलसिला है. He later came to be known as Data Ganj Bakhsh and Data Sahib. Hujwiri travelled widely through areas of what are today Egypt, Palestine, Israel, Iran, Iraq, Anatolia, Arabia, Azerbaijan and Syria. So, when I say that I'm trying to wander in the path of the Sufis, it's pretty daunting, because the Sufis always left the familiar to go very far away to preach their doctrine. I missed the bomb at Bari Imam by half an hour, and Rahman Baba, I'm afraid, I wasn't quite so lucky, but I find this kind of wanton destruction simply disturbing, because these are all layers of civilization. They are all things that we have to understand, instead of rejecting wholesale and deciding we can, by a force of action, intimidate others into being cowed by it. So I think it's time for us to become aware and to move in our society with some sense of committed, we have to be committed to the connectedness of life and to who we are as individuals, and I think that is what helps very much. In my travels in the West, people are always questioning whether I'm really Muslim, because they find me interesting and easy to talk to, and they say, "Are you really Muslim?" And I said, I'm not anything else, so yes, I am. And they said, "Are you really Pakistani?" I said, "Well, I tried to pass myself as an Italian and it was rejected by Italy, so I think I'm stuck with Pakistan." I would like to see if anybody has a direction that they'd like to go in, because it's really a very vast subject, and I am doing, this is a drop in the ocean and just a beginning. But hopefully it contains enough quotations from the great Sufis to inspire you to seek your own knowledge as you move forward. So is there someone that has a burning question?
Sharina, I'd like to ask that, how is that, you think, influencing the people who have a Sufistic or more spiritual approach to Islam in these areas, whether it's in the shrines or in the cities, in the towns that you travel in? How is this clash of idea taking place in the area?
Anything taken out of context can be construed as a mandate. And I find that particularly in southern Punjab, ignorance is rampant and people are afraid, it's the politics of fear that Allah will smite you, if you don't do this very rigid behavior and follow the Sharia and do all these things, whereas the Sufis are gentler, quieter, more all-embracing and more forgiving.
I feel there's more of a need to be firmer in my faith. To do so, I need to have distance between the forces around me that are completely negating that. And I am somewhat at peace, but I do feel a sense of guilt, because it meant that I've had to reduce my work in the rural area with the lower income groups that I was precisely trying to hope and bring about a change. And I'm stymied at it by every step. So I mean, it's just, in a sense that I find Sufism, it gives you that space.
I want to read this to you because it really is something that I want to share. Over long periods of time and great distances, Sufis developed rituals and practices in search of a direct pathway to God. Like all mystics, they avoided the strictures of orthodoxy and organized religion. Today, Sufis in Pakistan are being persecuted under the guise of the authoritarian ideals of extremist Islam. I conclude with a renewed faith that spiritual journeys never end. My questions have led to more questions. There are no easy answers. The recurring images of the influences of the Sufis in this region, their silsilas, roots and pilgrimages reinforce the fact that these mystical dimensions are embedded in the nature of the people and this land. They are transitory, they are personal. Sacred space in the end is within. Thank you.